camera, mics up, and action.
Live from Australia, streaming around the world. The most cinematic podcast of your week awaits. This is Bottomless Popcorn with your host, Morgan Brown.
Hey everyone, I'm Morgan. This is another episode of Bottomless Popcorn. On this episode, we have 1/3 of the Newcastle morning breakfast show on Hit 106.9. Ducko, Nick Allen-Ducat is joining us. So let's get straight into it and listen to his 4 favorite films. He's also got a really cool story to tell us about his time working on the film San Andreas. So keep your ears out for that one. I think you'll enjoy it.
Hey, my name is Nick Ducko Allen-Ducat, and the last movie I watched was the classic Arnie movie, Jingle All the Way, the
Perfect.
Christmas movie.
Yeah, he started his Christmas countdown early.
Absolutely.
That would have been in November. It was a couple of days before December, so he's
Yeah. I
started
had to
it early.
early. Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Absolutely.
It's Arnie acting as well. I mean, what could possibly go wrong?
Amazing. It's the best of his stuff, I think, too, you know. What's the other one?
I watched
Kindergarten Cop.
Kindergarten Cop's great. Yeah. And the one with Danny DeVito as well. Twins, yes. Yeah. I did watch it when I rewatched this one, Jingle All the Way, and I was like, he sucks, but he's not that bad. You know what I mean? He's holding it together.
Yeah. He's doing his best. He's trying to make everyone proud, I think, you know.
Exactly.
He's just I saw the other day too, Twins is getting a sequel
reboot
called Triplets with I think they said it's Tracy Morgan will be the third character now. Yeah, which sounded a bit interesting. Hopefully it's not like a
how's that gonna work?
I genuinely don't know, but I'm just hoping it's not like Coming to America, the second one, because I don't think that works.
Yeah, that was
well.
a letdown. I feel like it's going to be a tough movie to remake Twins, to redo it. So I don't know how that's going to go. Yeah.
We'll have to see, but all the same, I'm pretty excited to see anything at the minute, and hopefully it's at the movies too.
Yes.
We're going to go to the movies today. We're going to see your favorite film, and we've got a few trailers for your fourth, third, and second favorite films as well ahead of it.
Good.
So I'm quite excited. You've picked some great films.
I mean,
so
it was
really
very
looking
tough.
forward to talk
It
about.
was very, very tough to pick. To narrow it down to 4, it was like it took me weeks.
Yeah,
weeks.
These are really good ones. Like some of the ones you've got on here. One of them's come up before, and a few others I've been expecting to come up as well, but they haven't come up yet. So I'm pretty excited to talk about them with you.
Okay.
But obviously, we're going to the movies. We're going to stop at the candy bar for a few snacks and treats on the way through. So, what are you loading up on before we take our seats?
I'm getting a large popcorn and an extra large Maltesers, and I'm pouring the Maltesers in the popcorn.
One of those guys.
Yeah, and then a large frozen Coke, but it's half strawberry, half frozen Coke. Yeah,
right. Okay.
I need popcorn and Maltesers. Now, I know I've heard some of your chats before. I know you're not a fan of that, but
no, it's a bit
salty and sweet. It's the best way to go.
I get it, but you're just getting a little chocolatey fingertips that you're just going to wipe all over your clothes, and it's going to come out looking like a mess, you know.
It's dark. You're in the movies. No one can see you for that 2 hours. You can do whatever you want, really.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah, I guess.
What's your go-to snack?
I usually just do popcorn and a drink.
Okay.
Maltesers. So I worked at the cinema for like 9 years, and I reckon I consumed a ridiculous amount of Maltesers in that period of time, but I never mixed it. I always thought that
I can't believe that.
It was never one that I did.
Right. It's just the greatest combination ever. I'll even go to the supermarket and buy the popcorn. Not as good as maybe popcorn.
Yeah.
And if I'm watching something at home, and I'll go to the supermarket, get Maltesers and popcorn and pour it in that way. Like I'm just
like the microwave bag ones.
No, I mean, nah, I couldn't do that. Just like those slightly salted, like ones you get.
Yeah, sure.
I'll just pour that in. So it's cold. It's not hot. It doesn't have the same effect, but you do right when you get the perfect hot, warm movie popcorn and it melts the Malteser. Right. It's all a bit chocolatey and a bit. Oh yeah, that is.
I'm with you.
That's good times.
I feel like I might have to come around on it, and maybe I think I want to go and see Spider-Man before the year's out. So I think I might give it a go there.
Do it.
I might buy my regular one and a small one on the side.
June's out. I think June's
it came out today. Yeah, it is.
I'm very interested to see that.
What is it? So when you go to the movies, what do you go for? You go for the big screen, or do you go for like the recliners or the gold lounge where they're gonna bring some food and drinks into you while you're watching it? What's your go-to when you go?
Everyone likes going to gold class and stuff and likes having beers in the movie or whatever. I actually hate drinking alcohol in movies. I don't know. I think it's because I got a wee all the time. So
Yeah.
when I have a beer or two, then I need to break the seal, and then all I can think about is wee. I'm not focusing on the movie. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of gold class, and I find it quite awkward when people are coming and bringing stuff to other people. And you're smelling like someone's chicken wings or
Yes.
hot chips, and then like I've had people like some of the lovely waiters and waitresses accidentally spill champagne on me while I'm
Yes, I've
watching
heard
a
about this.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It literally spilled champagne on me, got sticky everywhere. And like they obviously give you free tickets. It's not their fault, it's an accident.
Yeah.
But like too many things can go wrong. I actually like the old
Yeah.
school, just sitting in a big cinema, big screen, bunch of randoms around you, and feeling sort of like the vibe of everyone around you, embracing that movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think with like just those big blockbuster twos, seeing those with a big crowd, or even in particular comedies, seeing that with a big crowd, I think like really elevates your experience and your enjoyment of it as well. Like I think if it's a comedy, I think the reaction of the crowd adds to it heightens the reaction. Like it might not have been the funniest joke, but you're laughing even harder because everyone else is laughing.
And there's always that one person in the audience who has like a really weird laugh.
Yes.
And then you're laughing at their laugh.
Yep,
yeah. I remember the first time I saw Anchorman was in the cinemas. Must have been in primary school. And I remember I've not laughed that hard before in a movie cinema. And everyone else around you is just absolutely in hysterics laughing, like belly laughing. And it becomes like a fun environment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just it's definitely like I was trying to think of one just then when you were talking, and I think the last like big comedy I saw would have been something in 2019. Good Boys. Did you see Good Boys?
Oh yes, I did see that. Yeah.
I remember seeing. So I remember seeing that at a cinema in a pretty decent sized crowd, and then watching it again at home and kind of been like, oh, I remember that being funnier. But when I kind of thought about it, I was like, I think it's the difference of seeing it with and without a crowd.
Yes.
But it definitely makes all the difference, I think.
Isn't that funny? Like, do you reckon that changes comedies now? So many movies get dropped on Netflix or Stan or whatever it may be, and you can watch it and you might be like, it was okay. But if you saw it in a movie cinema that was full, you might have thought it was very funny.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it probably even comes down to the editing, because I think there's probably gaps left where like there should be a laughter. So there's like probably a bigger space between the next character, you know, like on the sitcoms and stuff, like 2.5 Men, where there's the audience track, you know, and if you take that away, there's just like really long gaps between them responding to one another.
It's like a not funny show at all.
Yeah.
There's no audience laughter. All of a sudden you're like, it's like, have you watched Friends without audience laughter?
Yeah, it's
like
how
that?
bad is it? Yeah.
It's so bad. It's so cheesy. But the audience laughter makes the mood. It makes the atmosphere.
Exactly. Yeah. I think it makes all the difference. And I think like it probably comes down to that editing, whether or not they leave in a big enough space for audience laughter, or if they just go, it could be funny, but we're not sure. So let's just have the next character start talking like immediately.
Yeah.
But
Definitely.
I do think
It does all come down to the editing as well. Like, the editing's such a big part of any movie, particularly a movie like comedy where the pace just needs to be flowing. And then the gaps need to be right, the right amount of time. Like, there's nothing worse when they do a good joke and you sort of laugh at it, then you miss the next thing they say.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing worse.
The worst. But then again, I think they're probably like counting on you being really into the movie and going, oh, I'll have to go watch that bit again because I missed what he said.
Yeah, true. Yeah, hanging off every word.
That's good. Do you remember the first movie you ever saw at the movies?
Oh, I would have had to have been with Dad, I reckon. Me and my dad used to go to the movies all the time. And I reckon it was probably one of those like, I've got really early memories of seeing, this wasn't the first movie. I've got a couple. I think the first movie I ever saw, maybe one of like the old school like Pokemon movies with Dad. Remember when they made those into films?
Sure.
And we saw that. But I remember seeing the very first Harry Potter and the very first Lord of the Rings with Dad. Like from a young age, he took us to them. And I remember being just absolutely mesmerized seeing the first Lord of the Rings in particular. Like I said, I don't think it was my first movie, but I was young enough for Dad to have to take me and do all that. And the Fellowship of the Ring. I remember seeing that and just like, it's such a long movie as well, but like being on the edge of my seat the whole time and being so into it.
Yeah.
And just so caught up in the world.
I remember, I think through doing this, I've had to think a fair bit about it. For the longest time, I thought it was the Santa Claus.
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure it's actually Small Soldiers. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
So I think that was the first.
Come alive.
Yeah.
Actually.
I think that was the first thing I saw. But I remember going to the movies and just associating the fact that curtains were on the wall meant that this was like a really like rich place, as in like it must have cost a lot of money because the carpet went all the way to the ceiling. Like I just
and you dress up nice to go.
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Yeah.
Remember the movie was like a real outing. Like it was a it was a friend date. It was a date. It was a social thing to do on a weekend. Like seeing a movie on a Saturday night was good enough for any plan. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
I actually think, geez, I've got a few movies, either Pokemon, whatever, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, but I do remember the very first Shrek. That'd have been like early 2000s.
Yeah, like
I remember seeing I remember seeing the first Shrek in the cinemas, and I think I even went with my whole family. Yeah, and and that was like the revolution of that sort of animated kind of funny new style of doing comedies like that were animated, and I remember being blown away by it.
Yeah, that's probably one for me too. That was pretty early, or one of the first for sure. I think that's 2001. So definitely
Shrek 1,
I went with the family. I got a younger sister as well, so I'm sure if it wasn't my first, it was her first. So it would have been good.
Someone's first. Yeah.
Yeah. What's a movie that you remember more for the experience around seeing it? Like you remember the events around seeing it, or the whatever happened when you were seeing it. You remember that more than the actual film.
Yeah. I remember when I lived, because I lived in America for a bit. I lived in LA in a place called Burbank, it's just sort of up from like Warner Brothers Studios and all the major studios in America. And I was like studying acting at the time. And, so you live and breathe movies and cinemas and actors. And, you got Ellen DeGeneres walking out in the street in front of you one day. And it's a vibe over there. Yeah. And I remember going to the movies for the first time in America, and we saw Argo, which won the Oscar that year. And I have never been in a movie before, and the American that have an audience like the American audience, because they're so loud and they're so animated. They would clap after something went right. It's very hoorah, America. But when something went right for them, they'd clap. And at the end of the film, when they all saved the American people and they got them back to the country and yada, 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 everyone stood up, standing ovation, and was clapping and cheering. People were crying and stuff. All obviously Americans. And I was just like, because in Australia, when the film ends, it's the most awkward silence and people just like shuffle out and leave. Yeah. And they were getting up, they were clapping, they were cheering, yelling, crying. Like I was like, is this what you're meant to do?
Yeah. It feels weird, hey? Like it's like clapping a performance where the performers get no, like they don't know that just happened. Yeah, exactly. It's weird.
I didn't mind it. Like I was like, that's like, have you ever been in a cinema where you just felt like it ends and you're like, that was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Like, that deserves a clap.
Yes, and I've found through working at the cinema that it used to be like those midnight showings where all like the real hardcore fans would come out and see the very first session. Like those crowds, those crowds would be the ones that are into it. Like they're the ones that have been counting down the days to finally see this, and they are the ones that get like into it. They clap at random points and stuff like that.
They're all dressed up, ready.
Exactly.
That's honestly like it's harder probably to do in Australia as well, because we're a little bit more like subdued and a bit more like, don't be like that. But it's a very cool way to watch it when you sit there and you just like let the whole movie wash over you, like just embrace the whole thing and get into the vibe with everyone, a bunch of strangers around you, and embrace it. Like it's quite cool how they do it.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. And then like it does happen other times too, but they're the ones that stick out for me. When it happens just on like a random Tuesday, it kind of just feels like when the planes landed and the awkward,
that awkward clapping.
That.
So exactly like that.
Bizarre. What about like movies based on source material, like books, novels, comics, and that kind of stuff? Do you take any notice of that? Are you the kind of person that'll read or look into that material first, or you'll go and discover it after the film, or what? How do you feel about that kind of stuff?
Sometimes I do it in reverse. I see a movie like the Aussie movie that came out, The Dry, that came out.
Yep.
Geez, I think it was last year with Eric Bana. It was a great movie. Great for Australian cinema too. I remember watching that, and then I went back and read the book because it was such a good film, and I enjoyed the book. And then I read the next book to it, and I was like, they got to make a sequel to this. But for things like, I mean, I remember reading all the Harry Potters when I was young, and then going and watching them. But I never read like the Lord of the Rings, for example. Like that was above my level of reading. Like too detailed, too specific. But no, I'm not. I'm not a big. I love all the Marvel movies. I love comic movies, but I don't get caught up in the comic world and knowing what all superheroes do and the ins and outs of comics. It's not my thing. But I embrace. I like the films, but so probably. Not really. I do it in reverse. I'd watch a movie. If I like it, I'll then read it.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah. Are you a big reader into
Not really. I enjoy the films, and I think probably honestly through working at the cinema, I saw like a lot of movies I otherwise wouldn't have. But just like the like the comic ones, like the Marvel ones and stuff like that, I kind of got a bit swept up in. But I've never read a comic.
Neither.
I'm like, I really appreciate and enjoy the films, but I've never been like, I want to go back and read the comic book and find out what that's about now. I'd rather just
But I've never been a kid. I've never been a kid who was into comics like Tintin, Marvel. I've never really X-Men. I don't really do I don't know why. Maybe it was before us, but like I never really got into the comics. So seeing them come to life in the Marvel movie, I feel like the comics wouldn't do it justice.
Yeah.
Even though it's probably meant to be the other way around.
Exactly. I look at the books too, and I'm like, this is just confusing to me. I would not read this in the correct order. Like I would not follow the panels in the way I think they're supposed to be read.
It's all over the shop. There's speech bubbles everywhere. Things are going on. Comics, man, too hard. And
I look at them, and especially the speech bubble. That's actually what throws me the most. Is when I looked at it, I've been like, I don't know which one you meant to read.
Yes.
First.
Yes. Which one?
Like I think I've looked at it and I've been like, oh, I've just read the answer, but the question's like down here. Like it seems a bit difficult for me, so I've kind of steered away from them for the time being. I don't think
I don't think I've ever owned a comic book, like as a young boy growing up or anything. I don't think I've ever even owned one. Probably for that very reason. Don't know how to read it. It's too much going on. It's a picture book on roids.
Yeah, pretty much. First trailer's coming up, and it is your fourth favorite film.
Yes.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
And it's called
put comedy in there.
You did, and it's called Ted.
Yes.
Tell us about this one.
Mate, I reckon Ted 1 and Ted 2 are the most underrated comedies of all time. Like they don't get enough accolades. They don't get enough people quoting them. Like Mark Wahlberg teaming up. It's so funny with Mila Kunis. They're so good. And then anything Seth MacFarlane does, like I'm a big Family Guy fan. So I love Seth MacFarlane's wit and his humor. So anything he does, I absolutely get around. And the idea of like a talking teddy bear that's just this loose pot smoking unit who just gets who gets drunk and has no cares and responsibility with the accent as well in Boston, like they do it so well.
Yes, it's so well done. This is one I can remember, like the crowd reaction when I saw it, and just like seeing it with a packed crowd, because I'm pretty sure it was like Seth MacFarlane's first like theatrical like feature film kind of thing too. So I think there was a fair bit of hype around it, and I think like the Hangover trilogy had kind of come to an end too. So this was like
the next
looking to be the next big like really crude like mature rated like comedy kind of thing too. So
and it was too. Some of the jokes, man, I don't know how that hold up today, but like some of the jokes so funny and so risky, and like I remember there's actually probably scene was probably from Ted 2 where they go to like an improv class in America. It's like where actors go out there and do like theater sports. They're just there yelling at 9/11 and just the most inappropriate things. And I lose it at that scene every time because like I've done improv and theater sports. And like, so to be on stage and for someone to say it to you, be like, yeah, all right, mate, come on. Like, what do you want? I know, I just find it so funny, the one-liners in it and the situations and what Seth MacFarlane does sort of rip on. And he goes to those places where everyone thinks it's too far. I find that humor very, very funny.
It's a classic. And I think the same is what you were saying too. Like it's so recent, but it doesn't get like, and everyone remembers it and thinks it's great, but it's not one that seems to get like quoted. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, as in like people go, oh yeah, it's great, but then it's not one that people still quote to this day.
No, like think about it. People still quote Anchorman. People still quote The Hangover. And like The Hangovers, like they were up there in some of my favorite comedies as well, particularly the first one. The other two are air. But The Hangover's a great movie. People quote to this day. Ted, no one really quotes that film. But then you go back and look at it and there's so many memorable moments.
Yep, exactly.
Like the scene where Mark Wahlberg's listing off all the trashy names. Like when he's dating like
guessing
Penny
the
Lynn. And he's and it's so well done. Like I think it's so funny. I think Mark Wahlberg's a very underrated actor comedically as well.
Yeah. No, it's it's really good. I agree with you. The when movies get like shipped to theaters, so they're all digital now unless they're doing like a special like filmic run, they get shipped under like fake titles. And this one came under the fake title Thunder Buddies. So it's usually like some sort of in-joke or reference to the film. And obviously the Thunder Buddies being the how they sleep together and sing
And
that
they're scared of
little
thunder.
yes.
Yeah.
Which I didn't remember until I read it up looking after it, but I was like, oh, that's actually sounds about right. It would have been something that silly, I think.
Very good.
The bad guy in the film is Giovanni Ribisi, I think his name is.
Yes.
And he just plays a really good creep in pretty much
everything
anything
he does.
he's in.
Yeah.
And
he does it so well.
Yes. And he was in the country, the Western, not the country one, the Western film he did, The Million Ways to Die in the West. And I think even in that, he was like, he wasn't the bad guy, but he was still just a creep. Like,
just still an odd looking creep. Yeah. Just typecast. He knows what he looks like. Yeah. And he plays into that role every single time. It'd be a weird one being typecast as the creep and being like, oh, well, this is what I do. This is what I know I'm good at.
Yeah. Poor Steve Buscemi as well. I think, he's just got the same.
He's the weirdest looking dude. Yeah. I was thinking about Willem Dafoe, who obviously plays, the Green Goblin. Like, he's an ugly, weird looking dude, but he doesn't always get typecast as that. Like, he sort of slips away from it.
Yeah, he does.
Which is interesting. I know some people audiences just take to some and not to others, I guess.
Yeah. I was on IMDb, as I was saying, like looking up a little bit of like facts and stuff about this one. And I didn't know this, but apparently Ted, if it failed to be approved and greenlit as a film, would have been turned into an animated series, much like American Dad and Family Guy and stuff like that. And part of me is like, I'm glad it's not, but part of me is like, we would have had heaps more of it if it was too. So
I'm with you there. Like, part of me was like, it's glorious that Ted's the only animated thing and everything else is real. But at the same time, more Ted would have been better.
Yeah, exactly.
Or would the show have just slipped into like the abyss, kind of like American Dad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, possibly. Hey, because I feel like they still would have been devoting heaps of time to like Family Guy and stuff all the time. So that is, that's true. I don't know. So I think I'm sticking with that. I'm glad it's a movie and
me too.
Not a film.
And I hope they make another one, because Ted 2, it was one of those sequels that I think, if not just as good, if not better than the first.
Yes.
So I'd love to see them do a third. Like, it's such a great franchise and such a great story. So I really hope it comes out for a third.
Yeah, me too. It'd be cool too, because it's like some time has passed. So I feel like you'd get how we were just talking about, like people to quote it. If they announce they're making the third one, I feel like you get a lot of people revisiting those two films. So those quotes and stuff would come back. It would come back into
which would be really
pop
nice. Culture. Yeah, that would be very good. Good for the TED community, Not enough quotes on TED.
Perfect. I'll move on. I'll go to what movie do you think has the best soundtrack and the best original score?
Ooh. Okay, soundtrack. That's a tough one. I remember Guardians of the Galaxy having a pretty wicked soundtrack.
Yep.
Like just all the old school tunes they use in it. Because I think in that first one, he's Chris Pratt, his character always has that Walkman on him, which only has like the same 20 tracks on or whatever. And it's all that old school sort of Queen's in there and some cool. And then there's some modern stuff that they just chuck in too. And I just thought it was a really good. It was one of those soundtracks that you go on and you look at Spotify and you want to like, I'll listen to that whole soundtrack of that movie. Yeah. No, I think that's really good. That is
a good one.
And then score wise, I think like anything Chris Nolan does score wise. And he uses Hans Zimmer, who just makes the big epic scores. Like Hans Zimmer did Gladiator, that Gladiator song. Have you ever go for a run or do some exercise? Now we are free. The Gladiator song. Oh my God, that'll put lead in your pencil.
Yeah,
like that'll you'll just start sprinting for that minute and a half, or whatever it is. Yeah. Like I think Hans Zimmer did like.
Sorry, go on. I cut you off. I was going to say, a whole playlist of like, just movie score stuff like that is just like purely for like running or walking to, just to get a pace up, and it's awesome.
I reckon 80% of mine would be Hans Zimmer. Like he did Gladiator, Black Hawk Down, Inception, Interstellar. Like I don't like listen to those outside of it, but just like the whole world that movie lives in, where it's just so big and epic, and like all his sounds. And he did June, which we were discussing earlier, comes out today.
Yes.
So I'm very intrigued to see how that is and what that's like. But I'd say that. Yeah, that'd be my ones.
Yeah, I think that'll be fantastic. One of the movies you contemplating put it on your list, but didn't make it, was Pulp Fiction, and that is kind of famous for having a really great soundtrack as well, which I think is worth bringing up.
That's true.
There's a fair bit on that still to this day gets played and brought in and out of like pop culture and stuff as well, considering their age as well.
Even the dance that they do. what's the song? It's like that sort of like wipeouty kind of song that they do. Yeah, when they're doing the dance in the cafe. Yeah, it's a very iconic soundtrack for Pulp Fiction as well.
Yes.
Martin Scorsese does it really well too in movies like The Departed and stuff. Where he just chucks in different music, like heavy rock, Irish rock bands are coming on, then they just stop, and then it's like nice score for a bit, then it's like heavy tunes again, and it just works.
Yeah, it's great. It's really good. I was going to ask you, what do you think is the best looking film? So you can answer that like kind of two ways. So like the camera moves are really amazing and that looks cool, or everything like within the frame. So like the production design, the costumes, that kind of world looks great. What do you think is the best looking film?
That's a good question. It's a tough question. I really like both in terms of costumes and I think camera frames and like, pulling focus and like random zoom ins or, how the scene's set in Django Unchained. I think he does it well in all his films. But I think in Django, particularly because it's old school and the costumes are so extra and so big and there's blood splattering on things. And I don't know, I just feel like mixed with the music and stuff, like I feel like that's probably the best. It's like the most attractive sort of like looking film to the eye. Like, I mean, he does it too with Inglourious Bastards as well. But for some reason, Django Unchained sticking out to me.
Yeah, it has this really cool looking style. I know exactly what you mean. The like that shootout at the end that has the ridiculous like blood spurts, but there's, I know what you mean. There's like those really the crash zooms from really far away right into someone's face.
It's cool. And that shot of Leo when he's playing Mr. Candy, and he turns around. It's turned into like a meme everywhere now, and it zooms in on his face, and he's like smiling. Just like the zooms and the pull focus is like it's all just so Quentin Tarantino and so perfect. And then great. The score and that's great. It looks great. The cinematography is great like that. Or I like The Revenant as well. In terms of how like epic and the snow and it looks, you feel like you're sort of there and in it. And I think I can't remember the DOP's name, the guy who filmed it, but it's a lot of it. They do it in one shot kind of vibe.
Yeah, it's Emmanuel Lubezki.
Yes, and he did Gravity as well.
Yeah, he did like Gravity and stuff, which also has like that's largely animated, but it has like those 7+ minute takes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really clever.
The opening shot, one of my favorite scenes or sequences is that opening one of The Revenant, where they do that opening fight, and it feels like it's 10, 12 minutes of just non-stop intense action, even though it wouldn't have been all one take, but the way they do it is so clever.
It's clever. Yeah. Did you see 1917, like the entire movie made to look?
Yes. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. And that was only recent too.
Yeah. That was
they
really
didn't
cool.
shoot all in one shot, did they? They shot it in multiple, but the whole thing looks like it is.
It's multiple stitched together. And then there's like one like actual cut in the middle where a character it's the character you follow gets knocked out and then it goes to black and then
that's right.
Back again.
Man, but apart from that, it's filming that.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculous. And then especially in an environment where they've got like stunts and all that kind of stuff going on, and it's supposed to be like a war. Like I can't imagine you could make it too much harder on yourself to try and get that
stunt choreography happening. You got extras in the background, shit blowing up, people are around, and then like imagine if you were the actor and you forgot your lines in that one take and everything else around you was perfect, or one of the extras was doing something wrong. Like it is a nightmare to do that. It'd
be crazy. I agree. What do you think is the funniest film? We were just talking about Ted. Yeah. But have you got any others? I remember you were kind of tossing up between a couple of films for your fourth film. So what do you think?
I love obviously Ted, the other guys as well. Will Ferrell, Mark Wahlberg. I think that's a very funny film. Also pretty underrated. Anchorman, the first Anchorman was pretty iconic. Like I remember just belly laughing in the cinema a lot at the first Anchorman. And the other guys, first Anchorman, the Zoolander, the OG Zoolander.
Yes, of course.
That's not a bad movie. I do like a good Owen Wilson film as well. Wedding Crashers, Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn.
Yep.
That's very funny. I get around that, but it's hard to say the funniest film. But I think from memory in movie, it'd have to be Anchorman, The Hangover, Ted, the other guys. I mean, they're all up there for me. That kind of humor for me is like is king.
Yeah,
like I think
absolutely.
it's so funny. So and the risky stuff, a bit hard to do these days, but like the risky stuff is like yeah, I think it's what comedy is.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel
Well,
like if you ask, like asking people about their favorite films, comedy is probably most likely the one that would change the most.
yep,
I feel
yes,
like too.
and comedy doesn't age well. Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Like it's like
Yeah, yeah,
like I
yeah.
remember I used to love Austin Powers, loved
Yep.
Austin Powers. Like they were hilarious. When I grew up as a kid, that's what I'd quote.
Yep.
Austin Powers was so funny, and I went back and rewatched it like a couple of weeks ago now, and I was like, ah, man, this doesn't translate anymore.
Yeah.
This doesn't. It's like Will Ferrell's comedy humor as well. It's one that sort of these days hasn't aged as well as it kind of once did.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And they're kind of the jokes are kind of relevant to the time. So unless you're kind of in and around that, you either don't remember it or you like don't understand the reference. So it kind of can go over your head. But then other ones too, like obviously times are changing of what people find acceptable to be joked about as well. So some things don't fly as well as they used to. But
yeah.
A really good point got made to me. So someone was talking about Superbad and saying like you probably couldn't make that now. But I watched Superbad, so I'm probably just a piece of shit because I still found it funny. But
I do love Superbad. It's a very funny movie.
It is. But someone was like, well, Superbad worked at the time because, you know, like that was what comedy was and people just found that funny. But now you can watch Superbad through the lens of you're a piece of shit and you're an idiot if you think anything they do is going to like be successful or like good for you in trying to like talk to a girl. Like if you carry on and being a dickhead like this, like that's kind of the comedy in it as well, is like looking at it from another angle.
So has it aged okay?
I thought so. I still laughed at it, but I could be wrong. But I did think it was.
I haven't watched it in some years. Yeah, I haven't watched it a few years, but I think it's I mean, I thought it was a good enough movie to hold up. Like, and I'd say that's actually one of the more iconic comedies, right? People always, you know, say Superbad up there with like the likes of Dodgeball, Superbad, like that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
it's always up there for people.
Yeah.
In saying that, are you asking someone who's seen it recently or someone who remembers it as the funniest movie of like their childhood or years ago?
Yeah, true. I guess that answer would be different depending on when you saw it. That was. I would love
to see them bring in an Oscar category for comedy.
Yeah,
you know how they've got that at the Golden Globe Movie Awards has it, but the Oscars, I'd love to see them bring in a best comedy and a best comedic actor, actress, whatever it turns out being. Because I reckon it's the hardest genre to nail. And like you said, it changes over the times. Like imagine if Superbad won the Oscar for best comedy back in the day. And you look at it now and it's on the nose.
Yeah, right. It'd be crazy. Yeah. What about how The Martian like didn't fit into the drama category, so one in the category of musical or comedy.
Or comedy. And it
has like like what?
Yeah. Even Wolf of Wall Street, which was comedic to be fair, but I remember like Leonardo DiCaprio won the Golden Globe for best comedic actor, and he got there and he's like, I want to thank my fellow comedians. Like, yeah,
just crazy. Yeah, I agree. What about opposite end of that spectrum? What do you think's the saddest film you've ever seen?
I mean, Marley and Me always hits close. That the dog dying. I mean, that's one of the common ones to say is sad.
Yes.
Anything where animals are getting killed or hurt or injured, or there's an animal lead character and they you know don't make it. I find that really hard to watch.
That's tough.
I don't know why that hits home more than anything. Sure. I can't think of any other sort of like. Maybe it's because I enjoy sad movies. Like I enjoy dramas and I enjoy sort of heavy narrative in film, so it sort of doesn't rock me as much. I remember like watching A Star Is Born, the one recently with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. I mean, it's been done like 4 times. I remember walking at that feeling like, geez, I feel pretty hollow after that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that was pretty sad. But in terms of iconic sad movies, I'd have to go with Marley and Me. And it's an Owen Wilson film as well, which is so strange to call that a sad movie. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yep. I agree.
Do you have one?
It is so very weird answer, right? So I've had my mum pass away, and then the first movie I saw back at work was I went down to Sydney to Paramount to see this preview of a movie called Instant Family, a Mark Wahlberg film. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I know the one. Yeah.
There's just a scene at the end of the film where they play this Vance Joy song, which was the song we played at Mum's like funeral. And I was like,
okay.
It was the first movie back, the first thing I'd gone and seen, and I was like, Jesus, pull it together more.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like,
You're there just sobbing. Everyone's like, wasn't that sad? But it's the song that's
I know,
yeah.
And I was like, geez. So I struggle watching that one. And then Lion. Have you ever seen Lion?
Oh, yes. Yes, I have seen
Patel,
Lion.
the Australian film.
Yes.
Yeah, that one is.
Yeah.
That's
that
really
is a sad movie, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that's coming to mind, not so much the whole film, but the interstellar scene where Matthew McConaughey's watching time. He's watching his kids back, and that scene where he's crying to camera as they've grown up over like however long it's been since he's been in space. And he feels like it's been like a couple of weeks. And on Earth, it's been like...
It's been years.
Yeah, 20 years or something ridiculous. And his kids have kids and they've grown up. He hasn't seen any of that. And he's seeing it for the first time. Like, that was pretty like, that was full on.
Yeah, that was something else to see. That was really... I didn't cry for that one either, but I can remember the scene you're talking about, and that was like I think I was more trying to work out exactly what had happened, that I couldn't like get upset about it because I didn't understand.
It's such a full-on movie. Yeah, it's a confusing movie. I feel like as you get older, and it'll probably continue to happen, when you watch movies, you get sadder in them. Like you get more emotional because life just gets harder as you get older. You know what I mean? In every aspect. Yeah. So you're probably just more affected by the tiniest little things.
I think so. Yep, I agree. What about saddest? Sorry, not saddest. What about the scariest film you've ever seen? How do you go with scary films?
Mate, I hate horror. I'm so bad at it. Bad at it. I mean, I get scared and scream the movie. So, but I think I remember being in the movies and seeing The Conjuring, the first Conjuring with my partner. And I was genuinely like this, like eyes were closed and I was like, I'd peek through and I was like, no, I'm going to jump. I'm the biggest jumper. Like if anything goes wrong, like literally Morgan, my partner.
Your Morgan,
my Morgan, you're my other Morgan. She's
of course.
She'll, when I'm watching something and she knows it's about to be a jumpy scene, you get that vibe, she literally moves away from me because she's like, no, don't jump on me. You're going to scare me. And I will just jump like, but yeah, I remember things that scare me most. I like Conjuring and Paranormal Activity because they're based off loose reality. Yes. And it's like that stuff just creeps me out.
Yeah, it's tough. I working at the cinema, I remember I would shut, if I knew a horror film was in a certain cinema, I would shut the portholes apart from the one that the light had to go through, just so I couldn't have to see it. Like I was like, nope, I don't even want a part of this. So
would you have to, when you worked in the cinema for that stuff, would you have to sit in that back room where the projectors like playing it?
No. So I came in 2010. So Avatar had just come out, which meant 3D was taken off. So all cinemas were like switching over to digital projectors. Right. So the theater I worked at was actually the first one in the country to be entirely digital. It never ran film through it.
I remember once I was at a movie cinema. This was like one of those really old school ones. It was in the city of Brisbane. And it was like an old school, like big, I don't know, really like, it was almost like Royal-esque, like a nice, cool cinema. And the screen caught on fire.
Oh, shit.
Like a whole started to appear. And we're like, it was the Da Vinci Code. So I was like, is that in the movie? Like, and then all of a sudden it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And then it went black and like the screen ripped up and ripped open.
Yeah.
And it all caught a lot, and I had to stop the movie and sort of let us all go, and we couldn't stick around for it because there was no screen left. I didn't know what to do. That was one of the strangest things I've ever seen.
Yeah, that would be so bizarre too, because obviously if it's not the film, the movie keeps playing until someone outside knows about the problem. So like the sound keeps going and stuff too.
Yeah,
and
that's what happened. Yeah. And everyone's sitting there like, do we keep watching? Like, how much do we persist with this?
It's weird. It's and then obviously behind the screen too, a lot of people don't realize is, have you ever walked, like, I know you've worked in movies and stuff, but have you ever walked up and looked at the movie screen like really closely and stuff? Have you ever, like, thousands and thousands of holes in it on purpose? Like, did you know about this?
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
So they're acoustically transparent. So if you have a home theater set up or anything at home, like,
I wish. No, I do not. But yeah, let's pretend.
So like you know, like how you hear like 5.1 surround sound and stuff like that. Or so it's like your left, center, and your right speaker. So behind the screen, those speakers are just massive, but the screen just has thousands of holes so that the sound will pass through and it'll sound like they're directly, it's up the front of the room kind of thing.
Right.
And the subs and stuff are just buried in the floor up the front and stuff usually, or in the corners and stuff. And so if you ever go up to a movie screen, like thousands of holes, like it looks like a like an air hockey table, kind of just stretched
Right.
out. Yeah.
And next time I go to the movie, I'm gonna go over there like poking through these holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
The
pretty
movie
cool.
screens, they'd be expensive, those big screens to put up
big
in
time.
a cinema, right?
Big time.
Yeah.
And they got like special like reflective paint, and or most would have this reflective paint on it that was done for when 3D was a thing because of the amount of light lost wearing glasses. So they're all painted with this paint that's supposed to add more light back into the image once it's left the projector and stuff. So it's kind of quite technical, but it's pretty cool still. I always enjoyed it when I was there anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What's a movie that you can't believe you still haven't seen?
Ooh, okay. Maybe I can't believe I still haven't seen. Geez, what's like an iconic film that I haven't seen? I was talking about this on the radio show I do with Nick and Jess the other day. Because Jess has never seen The Godfather. She's still never seen that.
Right.
And there was something, what's my one that I haven't seen that's like very sort of iconic? I can't even think of the genre it was in.
What about did you ever bring yourself to watch San Andreas?
Yeah, I did. I was in the premiere of it, and that was awkward because how it works is like, because I was in the film. I was meant to be in the film, and what they do is I got given auditions. And then audition script, did that. Then I got given another audition script, had to go to callback, did that. I went through, I think, 3 rounds of auditions. And then that was just self-tapes that I was sending off to LA. And then I got an in-room audition, which is like the final process. Because my character, who was preppy student, I had a lot of, I actually had like a bit of a role in the film, like not a huge role, but enough that I was cruising around with Paul Giamatti, with all the other students. I think I was in like 8 or 10 scenes or something like that. Sure. Anyway, eventually did the final audition in the room, nailed it, got the script, rock up on set. We've got our own trailer, me and the other students. It's a huge Hollywood production. The Rock's trailer's over there, Paul Giamatti's over there, like, all these extras are everywhere. They've got these massive sets. We're at Warner Brothers Studios at the Gold Coast. And you're like, yeah. And then you literally, the morning we were meant to film, you get sent a new script because they're just always doing new scripts because they might stuff things up on the fly. They might add things. They might be running tight for time in production schedule. And in the new script I was going through, I was like, my line's not there. That's been cut. Okay, my line's been cut from there. My line's been cut from there. All of a sudden, preppy student had one line. Yeah. And I reckon I had like 15 bits of dialogue throughout the whole film, which is not heaps, but like it's enough for people to know it's you, and you get your dialogue in. I'm talking to Paul Giamatti, and we're saving the world, and a lot of me typing and stuff. Anyway, when I got on set, they ended up even cutting that line again. So I ended up having no dialogue. So I knew that I was in a lot of the shots and I was always there, but I had no dialogue. But we still had to go to the movie premiere and do interviews before it. And it was it was at movie on the Gold Coast. And I've got these journalists coming up to me being like, all right, so Nick Allen-Ducat, yep, you're in the film. Now, what was it like? And what are you saying? I'm just there going, oh no, I've got to sit through this film. And I know I'm getting interviewed and I'm probably not going to be in it. And then as it turns out, when you watch it, majority of the scenes that I then filmed with other people as well, I don't want to sit there and say it was all just me being really crap, were cut. And I think you see me in like 3 scenes where you see me in the corner, like looking, pouting and typing. And like, you really pause it, you can see me, you know what I mean? Like a handful of people have actually seen it genuinely without me, like having to instruct them. So I had to sit through that. And not only did I not love the film itself, I mean, it was a rock movie. It was a disaster movie. It was what it was. But I just remember like I was sitting there like in a jacket, like full suit, premiere next to my partner. And I was just like shrinking every scene.
No.
Just like, and as soon as the lights went on, I was like, let's get the fuck out of here. Like we got to go. And I've never watched it since because I was too scarred the whole process. It was a big learning curve for me in terms of like what actually makes it and what actually doesn't make it in Hollywood. But that's cool, that was a tough watch the whole time because I couldn't focus because I kept being like, oh, my scene's coming. I'm not there. Okay. My next one's there. I am. I'm gone. Like, you know what I mean? It was hard. But I think like, I've watched myself in like a few things I've done, whether it's like short films or other things. And it's never easy. Like it's never comfortable doing that. Like you always look back on it and go like, nah. And particularly like I wrote, produced and acted in a short film that did a bunch of short film festivals, like probably 5 years ago and was pretty successful. Like it went really well. and I had to go to lots of different short film awards and stuff. And then my family and my partner's family all came to one, and friends and stuff. And there was this scene in it that was like it was very sort of a sexual scene of kissing a girl and tops coming off and yada yada. And my future father-in-law's behind me, and so's my mother-in-law, and my current partner's next to me. And it's like, and then everyone goes, quite all your friends like, that's just you hooking up with that girl. What's going? It just feels so strange.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. It's very, very surreal. And then you're looking at yourself like kissing and doing weird things on screen. And you're like, what? Like, is that what I look like?
Yeah. That's tough. I can't imagine knowingly have people watch you make out with someone. Oh, it's I'm with you.
It's very strange.
All right. I'll jump on now to your second trailer.
Oh, yes.
And this is for Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. So tell us about Lord of the Rings, cause guilty for having never seen a Lord of the Rings.
Oh, you've never seen Lord of the Rings?
Never. And I've only seen the newer Star Warses, and that's by virtue of working there when they came out.
What? I mean, I can forgive you for Star Wars. I'm not the biggest Star Wars guy myself, but Lord of the Rings, man, what are you doing?
Tell me about it.
You're not into fantasy?
I really struggle with it. Hey, I understand the appeal, and I understand why people get into it and enjoy it, but it's just not for me. And I've liked Harry Potter. I've seen them. I've enjoyed them, but Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones. I've seen one of the Hobbits because it came out in the high frame rate 3D technology. Yeah, and that's the only reason I saw that.
The Hobbit for me, you can take it or leave it for the Hobbit movies. Turning one book into three. Lord of the Rings was it's just an incredible. I mean, probably lots of people listening know what it's about. I don't need to go into this plot line, but my specific favorite is the second one, The Two Towers.
Sure.
I don't know. I love big character movies where there's an ensemble cast and they're all a team. And they've all sort of got to work together to get through things. It sounds really lame and kiddie, but that team mentality. And so there's a part in The Two Towers, the Battle of Helm's Deep. It's the big battle at the end where they're waiting on Helm's Deep, a big sort of castle. And then it starts raining and the rain's hitting all their shields and armor. It's tink, 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 tinking away. And all the orcs come in and you're just looking at it I will never forget that battle. There's a scene where Legolas slides down on a shield downstairs, arrowing people. They do so many. There's so many cool moments, and I think I read that scene itself took months to film. Yeah. And there were so many extras involved, and they were all sort of Kiwis that were just dressed up as orcs and stuff. And I have a real appreciation for that. But I don't know. Lord of the Rings will always be, as a whole, all three of them, some of my favorite films. But the Two Towers in particular, I think because it's not the start where it's slowly setting everything up. And it's not the end where it all comes to a conclusion and sort of wraps some things up that you maybe didn't like how it wrapped it up, whatever. It's the middle of the story. It's smack bang. If I'm putting one on, if I'm just watching it out of the blue, I'll always chuck that one on because it picks up, you know what's going on. It's the middle of the story. The characters are established. There's a lot of fighting still, and it doesn't finish. It leaves you wanting more.
Yeah, for sure. I've never thought of it that way because it's kind of one of the most famous movie trilogies in the world, and anyone that's ever spoken to me has always said the first one or the last one, but no one's ever said the third one. But it actually makes heaps of sense to me. That is obviously the one where it's in its stride, it's set its pace, it's set its tone, it's going,
found its rhythm. All the characters are set, all the stories are unfolding, the dynamics there between all the relationships are unfolding, but you're still not fully there. Whereas I feel it's a cop out to say the third one, the final one, that one won all the Oscars. It was a great film. Don't get me wrong. I loved them all, but I know. I just love that second one. I love the middle piece of the story.
Yeah. I've been to New Zealand and taken a look around. So I've been to Wellington and I've been to that Weta museum that they have in Wellington. And then in the Hobbit village, I went and did that too, which was cool. And I was just
I've never been, man. I really want to go. You've never even seen the film.
And I don't even I know. And I went with a group of friends that were big into it, and I was just where's Hagrid's hut? Where's that at?
What John, where are we? Where's Harry and Ron?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't, as such a movie buff though, I can't believe you haven't seen Lord of the Rings.
Me too. All my friends bring it up every time. A lot of them are how are you doing a podcast when you haven't even seen some of the biggest classics of all time?
Do you think you will ever force yourself to do it, or you can't even, you've tried and you can't?
I think I would sooner watch the Lord of the Rings ones than I would the Star Wars ones, because I think the Star Wars ones like my parents were never into it, and I feel like that's how a lot of people our age probably found it. Like their
Yes.
parents were into it, got the kids onto it.
Yep.
My parents never
Yep.
were, so I was never interested in it. But I also like the further we're going on now, I don't think like it's Disney, so they will. But I would probably sooner think that people would come back to those Marvel films the same way the Star Wars ones were now.
Oh, yep. Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
for
they
sure.
would kind of be passed.
That's sort of
passed
like
down as
our
like a big,
our era of kind of big
Yeah.
franchisey films, and like all the Avengers ones as well, because they're standalone. All the 4 Avengers ones, whatever been, and there'll be like a new generation of those to
yeah,
come as well.
exactly.
What about the Indiana Jones films?
I've seen those and I really dug those. They were
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
I really liked
yeah.
that. And then that was kind of a weird one too, because I saw the National Treasure films. And I
Yeah,
was saying how I really liked them. And that's how I come onto them.
That actually, National Treasure, that deserves a shout out. That's one of my go-to films when you're with a group of people and maybe you're hungover or you're in you just want to watch something easy. What do you watch? National Treasure. Nicolas Cage stealing the Declaration of Independence is exactly what I want to watch.
It is. It's really good.
Anything with Nicolas Cage running in it, like there's a scene in that where he runs. Watch him run next time. That guy
it's
runs.
bizarre, isn't it?
It's so strange.
He's like
so
pigeon-footed, hey? Like it's really
man. And he goes in full flight.
Yeah.
Oh, Nicolas Cage is one of the strangest human beings on the planet. I love it.
Yep, for sure. That's good. I for Lord of the Rings, this was kind of something I realized Peter Jackson did a lot too. But it was that he does the miniatures. But for Lord of the Rings and stuff, they were getting so big that it was called the bigature unit. So the biggest miniature was something like 70 feet tall, and it was the big tower I think you were just talking about at the end was like this big like model built as a miniature. 70 feet tall. And
then he gets these cameras. He gets his cameras in. And they sort of crane around it, and it looks massive.
Yes, it's huge. It's so cool. I was like, that's massive. Hey, like that means you a dedicated space to it. That wasn't just set up on the day in like a warehouse or a soundstage or something. Like that was 70. That's huge.
Like that's what coming down. You're not just chucking that up and chucking it. And that's what was cool about Lord of the Rings films. I think is that obviously they did film per book. They didn't try and split it up like where the Harry Potter did. The last 2 Deathly Hallows kind of annoyed me, but Lord of the Rings did film per book, and they shot it all over 3 years. The production companies were not keen to be involved. Harvey Weinstein turned it down, and so they're like, all right, you can do it if you can shoot it all in 3 years. Here's this budget. I don't even think it was a huge budget. Bunch of actors. You know what I mean? Like it's not like the story. The story was well known, but it wasn't super well known at the time. And they just committed to it, and it became its own world because Peter Jackson was just like lived and breathed it for 3 years and beyond. But like when all the actors were there actually filming it and all the sets were being created.
Yeah, absolutely. The Harvey Weinstein stuff I read a bit, and I'm not sure if that was for the Hobbits, but one of them has like sketches on the credits at the end of the film, like the title cards at the end for the film, and when their credit comes up, it's like these two. Like they all have something relevant to their task, but when the Weinstein credit comes up, it's like these two massive, ugly, like troll things or something like that. It's a bit of a fuck you to them.
I read that article. I read that article recently where because he was annoying them before they started filming, and he only let them do it with another production company like New Line Cinema. If they found one that could do it in 3 years, whatever. So then they started, what they did is they had people who made the orc sketches, and the orcs obviously had all the prosthetics on. Yes. So they made orcs look like Harvey.
Yes.
So then there was like multiple Harvey orcs out there that would just have like that side ugly face. Yes. It was a bit of an FU to him as well, which I found pretty funny.
Makes sense. And he turned out to be a total piece of shit too.
So total orc.
That's good. I'll jump on again if that's all right. So what about films win awards, like get nominations and like get really good reviews and stuff? Is that something you take notice of? If a film is winning or getting good reviews, are you going to go see it, or are you the kind of person that'll see it first and then look up the review and see if it agreed with your opinion of it?
I think I've sort of flipped. Like, yes, I used to be all about it. Like, I loved all the award ceremonies because, when I was acting was my be all and end all. It's what I was trying to do, trying to be, and I was watching so many films and taking it in. And there's probably less films dropping because things like Netflix and stuff weren't around. I'd live for the award season. I'd live for those whole ceremonies. I'd live to see what was going to win the Oscar, and I could tell you the Oscar who wins and what year, and I'd want to see critically acclaimed films. But then now, I'm getting a little bit older. There's so many streaming platforms out and about, and I'm not, obviously acting and doing as much stuff like that. I'm not as invested in it. Like, I find it a bit more of a wank.
Yeah.
And,
It's
and not necessarily that accurate. And so it's weird, like something that I sort of loved all my life, and you dream of yourself winning an Oscar one day and wanting to be an actor and blah blah. Now it's sort of like you're like, no, it's really, it doesn't mean much except for a few people that have like made those votes. So like it's sort of flipped for me now. Like, yeah, if I still see it's got good, the critics have praised it and stuff, I'll still go see it. But I want to make my own opinion of it a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm the same. Like I'll try and go in blind of my own opinion, and then maybe have a look around after if I was unsure or either felt really strongly one way or the other. So I recently saw Last Night in Soho, the Edgar Wright film.
Okay, right.
And I come out of that and I was a bit like, I don't know what to make of that. And I come out and I seem to notice all the reviews were like, kind of enjoyed the things I liked about it, but then all shared the same opinion about its ending. And I was like, okay, I'm glad I wasn't the only one that felt that way.
There's something in that unity in like when you read reviews and they have the same opinion as you, you're like, yeah, that's exactly how I felt. See, I'm not alone. Yeah. Like it sort of makes you feel a little bit better and justified about that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Would you ever go into writing movie reviews though? Like, I think that would be a tough gig.
I do too. And I've thought about it. I don't know how I'd get into it or do it, but like I've thought about it. But I also seem to think that like when you like I go to the movie, so I pay for the ticket. So I have something to lose by like either liking it or not. But I feel like there seems to be like this jaded quality to people that see it for free and at like no expense.
Yeah, right.
Of like it doesn't matter if I don't like it or I lost nothing.
Yes.
By doing it. So I don't know. Like I
know what you mean. Yes. So if you're getting invited to all these movies, they eventually just become like, like whatever.
It's work. Yeah, exactly.
It becomes
so
work.
I'm a bit like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. And it's something the few like little review like channels or things that I'll read. Like Rotten Tomatoes isn't big in Australia. I really don't use that or like hold that to any
neither do
kind of say when I look at a movie. I'll honestly look at like a user score on IMDb, like the star rating.
Yeah.
The things I seem to be like mid-6 to mid-7 range out of 10. So if I look at it, I'm like, I'll probably like it. Like it seems to be within the range of things.
Yeah, that's true actually.
I'll like, but
and
I really
there's so many different ranges, and there's so many different like outlets that are voting and stuff like that. It's so hard for everyone to enjoy it and give it 5 stars everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's it's a bit weird. So I think lately I probably avoid it unless I really feel one way or the other about it.
But I think to circle back, I think award ceremonies like the Oscars and the Golden Globes and whatever, I think they're going to change a lot in the next sort of 5 years.
Yes.
With how the world's changing, with streaming, with what's culturally appropriate, with categories like I saw there was a music awards overseas that's already changed it. There's no best male or female artist. It's just best international.
Gender,
it's just artist. Gender neutral. And I'm like, wow, I wonder if the Oscars, which is ancient, I was going to go that way. Like they'll resist it for a while, but I wonder if it will. And then is it going to open up to best comedy actor, best drama actor, whatever, action films? Like, is it really going to open the floodgates?
Yeah, I agree. And I think the Oscars too, like I always see most years, they seem to have that same argument about like bringing in the stunt category into it as well. And I think that's something that deserves to be probably brought up, because a lot of, if you think about like the movies that tend to make a lot of that money and bring in big crowds to the cinema, which is what they're all about, they are those films that have that stuff in it too. So it's probably worth acknowledging that.
And and a category for the CGI, like Andy Serkis, who played Gollum. You know what I mean? He played the Caesar in Planet of the Apes, like that sort of category, because that style of acting is like Benedict Cumberbatch was the dragon Smaug or Smeg, I think, in The Hobbit. Yeah. And so that style of acting, I think it's in some ways harder.
Yes,
and
for sure.
And like deserves recognition, that CGI acting. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But I also feel like streaming platforms in some ways are destroying movies. Like I know they're making more, but some of the content you're seeing is so bad. Yeah. Like they're just churning movies out and people are just having so much on demand. It's like halfway through pausing, people are going on their phones during it. Like, you know, they want to instantly, whatever, I'm over it. Oh, it didn't hook me, whatever. It's so easy to get movies. It's so accessible. There's so much different content out there now. Like the whole love for for film and cinema is like it's sort of not there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. I personally, like in those lockdowns, could not wait to get back to see a movie on the big screen because I found myself watching like stuff at home on Netflix and Disney Plus, and I'd just be on my phone.
Yes, you
like
can't help
you'd just be
Yeah. Whereas
And
when you
like,
go to
I'm
the
like,
movies and you have that like ritual of like phones in the pockets on silent, not only is it like you're watching a movie, but you're getting 2.5 whatever hours out, like not looking at your phone and like turning the world off for a little bit.
Yep.
Whereas at home, you got your phone there, your computer's there, that's on the background, like something's going on behind you. And like that's how everyone's consuming movies now, which is why rock movies are the most streamed movies on the planet, you know?
Yeah.
It's just easy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's a movie you've seen and you really loved, but just seeing it the once was enough? You don't think you'll come back to see it again?
Oh, that was probably The Revenant for me.
Yeah.
I have seen it twice, to be fair, but sort of after 2 times, I was like, it's a great film. It's an epic film. There's not much dialogue. It's, the pace sort of moves pretty slowly. Like it's don't get me wrong, it's epic. I'm a big Leonardo DiCaprio fan, huge. But there's only so many times you can sort of put yourself through that, I think.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Those big sort of long, slow, heavy films like The Godfather. Like I love The Godfather. I've seen it a fair few times, but like someone's like, do you want to watch The Godfather now? I'd be like, I'm really going to get myself emotionally ready for that.
Yeah.
Like that's going to drag.
Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. And The Revenant too, like I feel like sometimes I look at the length of a film and The Revenant is a big one too. So I'd be
it's like nearly 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be like, is there anything shorter? Like,
yeah.
You know,
and that's another thing as well. Now, because there's so many movies, and it's like average movie is like an hour and a half, hour 45. So now when you're seeing a 2.5 plus movie, you're like, ooh, like I think I saw The Irishman that came out on Netflix, the Martin Scorsese one with like De Niro and Joe Pesci and all that sort of stuff. I saw that at the movies because it had an early release.
Yeah.
Just for like the real diehards, and it was like, mate, I think it was over 3 hours.
Yeah,
that was like a tough sit through. Like it was a good film. I really enjoyed it, but like had to go to the toilet. You know what I mean? Like things were going on. Like it's hard to sort of sit through that now.
Yeah, it's the Irishman still sits in my continue watching list. I still haven't been able to finish it.
Haven't finished it? Yeah.
Like I just was like, this was tough. So I was like, I want to see it because I enjoy his films, but I've watched it in like 20-minute segments.
Yep.
And I'm just, it's still there. I still haven't finished it. It's probably about an hour to go. And I'm a bit
I'd say like he normally always nails it.
Yeah.
Like Wolf of Wall Street, long movie, Martin Scorsese, thought he nailed it. You know, I love a lot of his movies, Goodfellas, yada, yada. But I thought this one, I was like, this is feeling indulgent for how long it is. Like it's just, it's a bit long. It's not needed.
Yeah. I think that's another probably downside to the streaming thing. Like there's not heaps of long ones on there, but because it doesn't have to fit into a timeline of how that would play at a cinema, they can be longer. Do you know what I mean? You're just watching it at home, so it doesn't matter what's on before you or what's on after you. You can play it whenever and however you want, kind of thing too.
100%.
That's a factor in it. What movie surprised you the most that you went in not really with any expectation of seeing it and then come out super glad that you had?
To be honest, well, we're going to get into it later, but I think Blood Diamond did.
Okay.
I think that movie surprised me. I know we're going to get into it, so I won't say too much about it. But that movie was one of those movies where I was a bit like, whatever. I didn't have much attachment to it or whatever, and then I came out of it and I was like, it's the movie that's probably stuck with me the most. Yeah. I don't know why. I can't explain it, but it's one of the things that you just maybe it was the right mood at the right time. And I don't know. Just the whole thing just stuck with me. But I really went into that. I don't know if I'd read any reviews for it. I don't know if I really cared. Like it had Leo in it. He's my favorite actor, but I was sort of a bit like, whatever. I'll just go see this film. And then I came out of being like, that was the greatest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, definitely
what's a movie you've seen and you really liked, you have watched it again, but your opinion has probably changed a bit. Like it's not as good as you remember it being perhaps the first time. Or even the other way, you didn't like it the first time and then you really enjoyed it.
Like I didn't used to like Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels when I was younger. The Guy Ritchie sort of pace, and it was a bit offbeat, and I like performances in it, like Brad Pitt and Snatch and stuff. But I was like, this movie's like it's all over the shop. It's losing me. Like, and I couldn't I didn't like Guy Ritchie that much. Like I was just like, this isn't really working. And as I've gotten a bit older, I sort of watched it in the last couple of years. I love them. And I'm like, how did I never get in? Like, how did I never enjoy this when I was young? And I like didn't watch it for years, like probably 10 years in between. I was like, no, I don't really like it. And then now I watch it again. I watched it the other day.
Nice.
And I really enjoyed it. And I got really into it.
For sure.
But I used to really find Guy Ritchie films hard to watch. And then somewhere along the way, it sort of clicked.
That's great.
I don't know why. But
the Guy Ritchie for me was the same. I'd heard of him, never really paid much attention. And I think I saw that Sherlock Holmes, the 2009, and then went back and was like, geez, this is for me. I really do. I do dig this.
You know
like, this
what?
is cool.
I might have been the exact same. Maybe it was Sherlock Holmes. And I was like, what? Who's that? Oh, Guy Ritchie did that?
Yeah.
Like, okay. Like, I better watch some Guy Ritchie and take it in. Because Sherlock Holmes, Robert Downey Jr. was like, it's great. So good. Yeah. Like, and it's such a well put together movie. And, but I think maybe because it lived in that era, that Holmesy era, that like I accepted the genre it was. Whereas when it was in Snatch and Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels and stuff, maybe I was just younger, but I don't know. I just didn't accept it. When you sort of like when you sort of let yourself relax and get into it, it was I think it's unreal.
I will say that. Have you seen Aladdin, the live action? It's him.
I haven't finished it. I've seen bits of it. So
that's him, but you couldn't tell.
Yeah, you're right.
Like
true.
Like if I didn't know, I wouldn't have guessed.
Guy Ritchie's doing a remake of Aladdin with Will Smith. Like the whole thing feels weird. Yeah.
It doesn't. It's just very like must have just been for hire at the time and said, all right, I'll do it. Like
I'll tell you, I'll take a bullet for the company. I'll do it. I'm not a big like I love like the Lion King and those old school Disney movies, but like the remake of the Lion King, like the remake of the Aladdin, I've heard it was quite good, but like I'm not a big musical fan as it is.
Yes.
So like movies that become musicals, like I can't sit through like Les Miserables and all that crap. Like it's I can't. I just can't do it. Like it's too melodramatic. Don't stop and sing. I'm watching a movie. You know what I mean? Like I never got like Grease Lightning, all that stuff. Like Mamma Mia. No, thank you. Like I can't. That can all go to the bin for me.
I struggle with musicals, and I saw The Greatest Showman, and that's probably one of the only ones I've liked.
You liked it? Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah.
I didn't hate it.
I didn't hate it. Yeah. It's still a musical, so I still found it tough in parts, but that's probably the most like tolerable I've found a musical to be.
Yeah.
But thinking about it too, the songs are all like pop songs and stuff. So it is stuff that's played on the radio too, really. So it's not
it's easy to sort of listen to and pop a bit more modern and relevant. Whereas like Les Miserables with Russell Crowe,
that's tough. That is tough. Yeah.
Oh man, that was I love Rusty. Like I love him in Gladiator. He's an Aussie, whatever. He's a legend. But like watching him in that sing, I was like, no, this is not great.
Yeah. No. I couldn't do it. That came out on Boxing Day in Australia, and I remember it was just crowds of like seniors just packing cinemas seeing that one. And I was like, geez, this is. And that's like 3 hours too, I think, or it's not. It's really long. Like it's
a long movie.
It's massive.
Yeah.
I'll jump onto your third and your final trailer, and this is for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yes.
Quentin's most recent. It's his 9th film of 10, allegedly.
Yep. So, allegedly, but then I saw something the other day coming out saying he might not. So he might do more. So who knows with Quentin Tarantino? I hope he does do more. But this is probably a controversial one for Quentin. Like, obviously, there's Pulp Fiction, there's Django, there's Inglourious Bastards. Like, there's so many good ones. Reservoir Dogs, Jackie Brown. But I don't think a lot of people think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood's his best. Yeah. But to me, I think I think it is as close to a perfect film as you can get.
Yeah.
And I think I obviously relate to it a lot more from an acting point of view. Like there's some scenes in it where like Leo can't remember his lines as an actor, and he comes back and he's yelling at himself in his trailer, and he's, you're stupid, you're an idiot, hitting himself, like doing all that sort of stuff. And like when I watched it with Morgan, my partner, she'd like piss herself because she's like, that's what you used to do when you have to learn script. And she'd be we do like a lot of self-tape auditions, and she'd be poorly reading the dialogue across from me behind the camera, and I'd be getting it wrong, and I'd slap my just get so angry. So I found that side of things, I think, really resonated with me. But when you watch it the first time, it doesn't do much. Then you watch it again and again and again, and all of a sudden you're just picking up things along the way that you didn't notice at all. And the movie, everyone says it's so slow, it's so boring. But I'm like, no, I think the pace moves exactly how it's supposed to move. And then at the end, it has that climax, which is just the most peculiar and funny but crazy and graphic fight scene. And I like, obviously I love Leo, I've said that like 40 times, but Brad Pitt in it as well, so good. Like they're so good together, and their comedic timing is so underrated. I don't know. And then I think Quentin Tarantino makes a lot of his movies as well. Like you sometimes you need to watch his movies like stoned, because I think he leaves like little hidden things in there, or he like when you can watch it in another sort of reality where you're like, wow, like
that's
that
what he meant. Yeah.
I didn't notice that the first couple of times, but I'm with you now.
Sure.
So that it ticked a lot of boxes for me, that movie. Obviously I enjoyed the cast, like I really liked all the actors in it, but I love Quentin Tarantino and the acting side of things. But I found the subtlety of how it's set over, like, not a lot's happening in the story. It's the tail end of this old school actor's life, but the world and that Quentin Tarantino creates, where, because he wrote a book about it. He's written
I haven't read it, but I saw it. It's just recently come out.
So I listened to it novel. I listened to it on Audible, like the audiobook, and he's got a whole other, it goes into so much more detail. He's got a whole other world about all these characters. He's got full backstories. He's got the movie scripts that Leo's character played in the film. They're not real, but he wrote the scripts the character played. Like, it's so deep and all that stuff. I look at it, I'm like, it's just like, for me, that like, I jizz out over that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I gets my rocks off really bad. So like, it's I just think it's one of the great films.
That's cool. I think I was kind of the same as what you were just saying. The first time I saw it, I was a bit like, I don't know. And then I've watched it twice more, I want to say. And I think I've enjoyed it more each time. But I can't work out if that was kind of like my own expectation the first time I went in, of going like, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Quentin Tarantino, Bastards, Pulp Fiction. Like, here we go. And then it doesn't
do that until the last 10 minutes, really.
Exactly.
Like, the rest of it is kind of like a drama, just characters talking, which seemingly about nothing. And then kind of all leading up to that Quentin Tarantino twist on history at the end, which
I love that
really
he does as well, like he did in Bastards. But like I even love like the insecurities of the actors in that film, like Leonardo DiCaprio, and the insecurities he has, and when that little girl tells him that it was the best acting she's ever seen, and he's there bawling his eyes out. I was like, man, I like, having done acting and stuff, and only like nowhere near to that level at all, but like having been around actors, having been involved in it, like the most insecure human beings, and like that would happen. Like, I was like, if that was me on a set and I did that, and a little girl came up and said that, like, I probably would have cried too. You know what I mean? Like, it was very funny, like very spot on how he did it. And then
that ending too, I think. So seeing that again with a crowd at a cinema, I will say that I think that was a bit of like the crowd's like reaction and kind of disbelief of like, this has been going on for a while, and this is like, he's bashing her head against a brick fireplace, like, and everyone just like
flamethrower out.
And it being like this kind of awkward like laughter going on in the crowd, of people going like,
and then you're like, should I be laughing?
Is this the same movie? Like, this didn't just change like movies accident, like it was kind of weird, and then
it flips on its head.
And then the audience like kind of being shocked, and then kind of going, okay, it's happening, so like jumping on board. And then I think by the end, where he comes out obviously with the flamethrower in the pool, and then just,
oh man, so good. And I think because everyone knows the story of the Manson and Sharon Tate, and everyone knew what was coming, and she was pregnant, and everyone was like, oh, like you could tell no one wanted that. No one wanted to see what actually happened because it was so horrific. And then it just completely flips and goes another way. It was almost a relief. It was like even though it was so graphic, like you said, he's banging this chick's head against the wall so many times, but it was like a comedic graphic relief.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And the dog, like with the like the pit bull, I think it is. And like, just so and good. Taking the acid, like, away we go. Like,
that's one of the greatest lines. He's got an acid rolled cigarette by himself, going for a walk with a dog in the Hollywood Hills, and away we go. I always use that line. That movie, like, and I think if you watch it again, like if you watch a couple of times, watch it one more time, or watch it again, or with different people or a different state, like and it goes quicker too. All of a sudden, it's like, because it's a long movie. It's like 2.5 hours, but it never feels like it's that long. It's it's good.
That's also his. So he's also kind of famously produced a lot of his films with the Weinsteins, and that was his first one without. And he ended up going with Heyday Films, which is the guy that did all the Harry Potter films. So
right.
I think that's quite a surprising shift as a producer, like to go from these childhood like fantasy films to this kind of Quentin Tarantino, like
fake reality, graphic but slow but real. Yeah, that's a complete flip,
isn't it? That was that was something I didn't realize at the time when I first saw it. And then again, like when I come back to these kind of films to look up for the episodes, I was a bit shocked to read that.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all
really
either.
Cool.
And I didn't realize he did them all with the Weinsteins either. I did not know.
I think like Bastards and Django and stuff, and a lot of the Miramax, I think, might have been a Weinstein company. So like Pulp and stuff as well. So
right.
I think he was fairly involved with them for a time, but not so much anymore.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I'll move on. I've got a couple more questions for you before we get to your number one film.
Yeah.
Who plays Nick Ducko, Allen-Ducat in the Ducko biopic?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a tough one. I reckon I could be like a Marky Mark Wahlberg kind of vibe. I could see that happening, like that right vibe of like comedy, but also sort of dramatic. Or go left of field, maybe a Christian Bale. I don't know. He's a great actor. He can he changes his body no matter what he does. So like he could get real thin, play me. I don't know.
Sure.
But someone like that. If it was a comedy, because I think Mark Wahlberg could cover comedy and drama, so I feel like that could be a pretty safe bet. Yeah,
I'd say it. It'll be good. What about?
You expecting me to say? Did you think I was going to say someone?
I don't know. I try and picture it for people, and then I think about it. I'm like, that's too much. I don't know. I'll listen to what they say and just agree. What about who's your favorite character from cinema?
Oh, favorite character like in any movie ever?
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Because like a lot of the films that we've been saying that have been my favorites, they've all been big anti-heroes.
Yes.
You know what I mean? A lot like I enjoy flawed characters a lot. Like I really like flawed individuals and having their moment and their say. Putting it down to one character.
It's tough.
Mate, it's really tough. Who's yours? So I know like
See, this is what I mean. I can't even answer my own questions, so I don't know.
Because every character that I go to want to say, they're also such a bad person in other ways. You know what I mean? Like I love the character, but not in real life. But I love the character in Wolf of Wall Street of Jordan Belfort because like that is just a wild, crazy. Like I could never live that way. Don't get me wrong, but like that was a real person, and as well. I mean, it's obviously characterized as well for the film, but like I enjoyed that side of things. But I'm trying to think of like another, like a fictional sort of character.
Yeah.
I mean, I do love Aragorn in The Lord of the Rings. He, Viggo Mortensen who plays him. That's, everyone wants to be that guy. He's an absolute hero, a complete weapon. Like I really love, like, it's going to sound a bit weird, a bit lame, but I really love like the characters in like Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson movies. Like they're such 2D basic characters. Like if we're going like easy fun characters, but like, like the plots of like things like Wedding Crashes and stuff like that, where they're just two dudes who are best mates and they're going to weddings, like to have fun, pick up girls, do whatever. And like, that's sort of how they live their life. They work together. Like, I feel like that would be like a funny, cool sort of like cruisy character. You know what I mean?
For sure.
Yeah.
And The Internship is another one I just thought of too with them.
Yes,
like
that's a good film.
Like the tech literate dudes that just
Yeah, you can't go wrong with it. That'd be a fun life to have as a character. That'd be one of my favorites, like easy to go in characters. But
for sure.
Yeah.
What about favorite filmmaker? Like, doesn't matter what they've made, you're going to go see it because it's their movie and they've made it.
Got a few. Quentin Tarantino, 100%. Martin Scorsese, 100% as well. I enjoy Ridley Scott as well, but it can be hit and miss.
Yes.
Here's what. Circling well back. Here's a movie that I never actually saw that I should have seen.
Sure.
The first ever Alien.
Okay. Yes. Yep.
I've never seen that. I've never seen the first Alien. I've seen Alien vs Predator, and I think I've seen the sequels to Aliens, but I've never seen the first Alien.
Yeah.
I know that was Ridley Scott. But yeah, I'd say those three, mainly Quentin Tarantino and Martin Scorsese. Like anything they do, I'm massive fan of theirs. So
yeah,
and I love that they use all the same actors as well, and they have relationships, and like, yeah, I love the style in which their movie, like when you're watching a Quentin Tarantino movie, you're like, I know this is a Tarantino movie from the opening, like credits. Same with Martin Scorsese. Like you just know what they're doing. Like, you know what their type of film is. Yeah. And I respect that they've never changed and that they have their world and it works and you fit in with it. You know what I mean?
I'd throw Michael Bay in there for good measure.
A bit of Michael Bay. Yeah. Get a seizure from all the bloody short, sharp camera direction and shot duration.
Yeah, exactly.
OG Transformers, Michael Bay.
Yes.
How good.
I think it's time to move on to the main feature, which is the movie we've come to see.
Yes.
Which is starring your boy Leonardo DiCaprio. It's
Who would have
Blood
picked
Diamond.
Yes, Blood Diamond is my favorite film of all time. I reckon I've watched this movie over 50 times. And this is one we were talking about earlier where I said I went to the cinemas not expecting much. And I would have only been in grade 11, maybe.
Yeah.
So it's not as if I relate to the South African War or the apartheid or the diamond smuggling industry. Like I've got no connection there. Like, which is so strange, you know, like, but there was something about I love films that are like probably similar to Lord of the Rings that are like journeys and anti-heroes. Like he's a great anti-hero in that, his role, Leo. And the journey that he goes on, not only as a character, as a human, but in time as well with the diamond trade, the story, the shots where they're in the African sort of outback as well. And they go to little villages and they go to the capital cities. And I just thought it was so well done and well acted in as well by Leo, doing a South African sort of accent, being a big missionary sort of soldier. I remember being so moved in that movie when I first saw it, and it just stuck with me. And now it's a movie I can put on no matter what mood I'm in or where I'm at. And I can always sit through the whole thing. I'll never go on my phone. It always hits me every time in the same spots.
Sure.
And like I've quoted it so many times. I can remember so many bits from it. And I don't know why, because it's not like, I wouldn't say that's a common movie for people to have as their favorite.
No, not at all. Yeah, not at all.
But yeah,
it's worthy of it though. It's worthy of being the top spot in anyone's list. It is really.
It's a great film. It's a great film, and people, I think it's underrated as well. Like people don't see that as Leonardo's best film or one of the greatest films of all time. When you go back and look at it, it's like there's a lot right with that movie, and there's a lot of cool things in that movie. Not just from acting, the directing, the score, like the soundtrack's really cool. But yeah, I'm just big into that sort of world that films live in, like the journey that they go on, the what it makes you feel as a person, whether it's good or bad. Like that's what I get around. And if it's something bad, I don't mind it either. So like, this film for me had everything. Like you'd have moments of like, yes, hoorah, we're doing it. And you have moments of sort of sadness and depression, and sort of, it doesn't necessarily even have the happy ending, which I sort of get around as well.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's just I can't explain it. It just is like my favorite film.
It's tough to, and it feels, I'd say this one sits probably pretty high for me as well. But I feel like talking about a film that does seem quite so brutal as well.
Yes.
And talking about it in like a favorite context feels weird. So it is
hard
to explain to someone why you are into it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yes. A lot of people say their favorite films are, Harry Potter or maybe even Lord of the Rings, or like things that are like easy watching or nostalgia or whatever. But it's that heavy sort of drama where it's like, no, this is going to take you to a place that you don't necessarily want to go.
And is based on true events too.
Exactly.
Unlike the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and stuff as well. So there's like this level of like, this is tough because this did happen. Like people actually lived through this event in time and stuff, and that's tough to swallow, I think, and comprehend.
And the diamond trade, like people have jewelry and diamonds and pay big bucks for them, and you wouldn't think twice about going to a shop here and getting a diamond ring or whatever it may be. And then where's that ring come from? And then tracing the blood stones and the blood diamonds all the way back and how it works.
It's crazy.
Smuggling in goats through African mountains and what people have to go through over there, and like the locals, and like being separated from their family. And I think it was a great anti sort of hero character as well.
Yes.
And an emotional sort of moving film, but also, because it is based, like you said, on real events. It hits you with all the feels that you're like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling this, or I shouldn't be enjoying this as much as I am, I suppose.
Yeah. When I looked up a few things about this one, I don't know how many times I've seen it. I'd probably say at least 3 I've seen this, but I didn't notice this, and I wonder if you did. So throughout the movie, it's suggested that Leo's character has HIV. At the beginning of the movie, when a prostitute tries to like get him to like take her home.
Yeah.
She says, "Oh, hey, I'm HIV free," and he says, "Oh yeah, well I've heard that before."
Yeah,
and then he keeps his distance from Jennifer Connelly's character. I don't think they ever touch one another throughout the whole film. And then at the end, he refuses to let Solomon touch him where he's bleeding.
Oh yes.
At the end of the film on the side of the mountain too. So I think I'm not sure if that's like just a really well woven detail into the movie, because that sucks if it's true, but also that's a really cool way of showing it without ever explicitly saying it.
Yeah. I didn't think
but it's definitely not something I picked up when I watched it. That's all.
No, Danny Archer, HIV. I didn't pick that up either. But when you say it back like that in all those moments, you're right. He does do that. And I don't think Jennifer Connelly's character, or she tries to touch him when they go to like when they're sort of hiding out in that village and they're drinking that sort of like moonshine-esque kind of drink. And he doesn't want to let her in, doesn't want to let her touch her. But yeah, you're right. And then Solomon, he doesn't let him touch his wound at the end when he gets shot.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's.
I wonder if that is true or not. I've never even seen that been asked of the film or to the actors or anyone who was in it.
So
that's fascinating.
I don't know. It had me thinking too. So I think.
Now I'm going to go back and watch it again. And
watch it. Yeah.
You've just given me a reason to watch it again. I'll have to do it. I may as well.
You get home tonight and Morgan's like, "Why are we watching Blood Dummy?" Checking to see if Leo's got HIV. It's okay, you know.
I'm just going to see if he has it. Okay, Leo, come on.
Perfect. I've got two more like quick bits for you.
Yep.
What's the next movie? We're kind of spoken about June, I guess, already, so that might be it. But the next movie you want to see up on the big screen?
Yeah, I want to see June. I want to see that because it comes out. Well, I mean, it comes out today. So I'm keen. I think I'm going to see that this weekend. What else is there? Oh, the Spider-Man. I really want to see the new Spider-Man film. Big fan of like a little Marvel stuff. It's easy watching. Tom Holland's a great actor. I want to see that. I'm looking forward to those. What was another big release coming out over the Christmas sort of period? The Boxing Day release, because I know they've got that. Jennifer Lawrence and Leonardo DiCaprio comedy disaster sort of film that's coming out on Netflix.
Oh yeah.
Look Up, it's called. That's coming on Netflix. Yeah. Oh, Don't Look Up. Yes. But they're dropping that out in the cinemas for like an early release. And I like to try and see them in the cinemas before Netflix. But I'd say June and Spider-Man. I'm pretty keen to see both those, and both very different movies as well.
Finally, I used one of your top 4 films.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a 1-star review for it online.
Okay.
I took out all the references to the movie, so we'll see if you can guess which one it is.
Okay.
So the title is As I Expected. I've been watching this movie for about 30 minutes and I have yet to smile, let alone laugh. It just proves to me that Hollywood will do anything to make money. Why, oh, why did they make this piece of shit? The special effects are pretty good, but it's the only thing special about this movie. It's symptomatic of modern comedies. Comedies is written in inverted commas.
Right.
That it's just filled with foul language. Why people think this is funny, I will never know. What movie do you think this is?
I mean, it has to be Ted, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is Ted. Yeah.
And that's the thing about humor that we were speaking about with comedy before. Like, not everyone's going to find everything funny. And sometimes like comedy doesn't age that well. And like that guy's given it a 1-star review, but then it's one of my favorite movies of all time. So like, who knows?
Yeah, it's tough. Hey, like I always surprise myself reading those and just fall into this category of you must have just been in the worst mood to watch this in the first place.
Who are you to judge it that much? Like, even movies that I don't like, you know, I don't think I could ever give anything below it 2.5 star or something like that. You know what I mean?
I would feel bad doing it because I would just feel like they took so much effort to make this. Like, at least give it a star for the fact that it's made and it's finished alone.
Yes.
You know? Like, it's
people are just so negative and grim anyway. Like, come on, spark up. Pep up. But anyway, very funny. They didn't find it funny, and we loved it. One of my favorite movies.
That's it, man. Thank you so much for doing it.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Where can people at you in the DMs if they disagree with any of your selection? What's the
mate, hit me up on Instagram at Ducko, just Ducko. You'll find me there. There's not too many of us with that name, so you can hit me up there and come and tell me about my 1-star movies that suck.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Bottomless Popcorn. For bonus content, news, and upcoming guests, follow us on Instagram at Bottomless Popcorn Pod. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube. If you'd like to contact the show, you can email us at bottomlesspopcornpod@gmail.com. And be sure to leave a review of your own favorite film wherever you listen to podcasts.